two audience members right here, and then three more on FaceTime watching. We go. All right. On this side. Here we go. All right. The discussion of whether or not to pay college athletes has long been in the spotlight as a topic of serious public debate, with controversy throughout the NCAA regarding under-the-table payments of athletes and other unfair recruiting tactics. However, it may finally be time to end this debate once and for all and begin paying student athletes. Almost everyone watches college athletics of some kind, and this is a collegiate course, so I assume that everyone could relate to this topic in one way or another. Collegiate athletes treat their sports like a full-time job, and universities generate massive profit margins on the merits of their student athletes that are not put back into their educations, and athletes also play a key role in student recruitment to colleges across the nation, regardless of their merits on the field. As you can see here on this graphic, athletes put more time per week into their sports than the average working class member puts into a full work week. As cited from Edelman in Forbes magazine, they work approximately 43.3 hours a week on their sports outside of studies, which is 3.3 hours more than the average working class American spends on their job. In addition, 40 of the 50 states in the United States have stated that the highest paid public official is a head coach of either a state university's football or men's basketball team. This can be seen here as higher level NCAA coaches, especially in football. BCA qualifying coaches make on average above $2.1 million a year in salary. Right here, John Calipari, the head coach of the University of Kentucky Wildcats, makes $8 million a year in salary. And head football coach for the University of Alabama, Nick Saban, makes over $7 million a year. Revenues generated from collegiate athletics overshadow claims by universities of so-called amateurism within the profession of sport and put athletes at risk of injury that may decrease their chances of being able to provide for their families in the future. Here you can see Louisville basketball guard Kevin Ware, who in the 2013 NCAA tournament fractured his leg and ultimately was prevented from having a successful career in the NBA due to this injury and was not fully compensated for medical expenses because he was considered a liability and no longer a profit-making portion of the university. As well as this, it's been stated in NCAA books that $750 million in the year that Kevin Ware was injured was made just off revenue during March Madness, according to M. Gilleron of the Santa Clarita Law Journal. Another example of an athlete who had his livelihood taken away from neglect to properly treat and maintain their athletes is Stanley Doty, who played for the University of South Carolina. And after not being drafted in the NFL draft, signed a free agency contract with the Kansas City Chiefs for $400,000 over 2 years, but upon evaluation was diagnosed with an acute cervical spine injury and was told that he would never be able to play football again, despite the fact that he was cleared for play the entirety of his time at the University of South Carolina, according to M. Walsh of The Atlantic. Finally, athletes lead the marketing charge for their schools, as many small-name schools, including Gonzaga and Wichita State, wouldn't have a name out there if it weren't for their successful basketball programs and runs deep into the NCAA tournament. and this is not taken into account when schools try to promote themselves and their public image, despite the fact that athletes are spending most of their time doing things for the school that are not study related. A great example of this is the inception of Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M and the way that he benefited the university both in College Station and abroad throughout the United States. After Johnny's time at Texas A&M, revenues were so great that Texas A&M had enough money to build an entire new football complex, including a multi-$100 million new football stadium and other training facilities that improved recruitment, not only athletically, but also scholastically to the university. As you can see here, this is a graphic that the NCAA released showing their trends in revenues and expenses for their Division I sports. In the year 2015, the median revenue post-expense was around $21.5 million for football, $5.5 million for basketball, and an additional $5 million for women's basketball, showing that there is clearly a lot of space that the money could be moved around into other areas than continued revenue, such as student improvements and payment for athletes. In the time that Johnny Manziel was at Texas A&M, if the NFL's salary sharing process had been used, then every single one of the 80 scholarship athletes on payroll for the university would have made an average of $225,000 a year during their time at Texas A&M. The jury is out, and it's time to take a stand and push for collegiate student athletes to be paid for what they do and the ways in which they benefit their universities. Had you contributed to your university in the way that many athletes contribute on a daily basis, you would feel it was only just to be compensated in such a fair way. Whether or not you agree with this, it's time to look at the facts and accept that college athletes should be paid for what it is that they do for their universities and the overall benefit that they have and provide for their student bodies. Thank you. I hope I was able to convince you of this topic. Have a good day.